Welcome to today's episode. I'm joined by Simon Newell of Newell Water. I met Simon many years ago during the Girl Against Fluoride campaign, and he is one of the leading companies in Ireland providing water filtration systems. So, the reverse osmosis system that I got in place back in, I think, 2010. So, Simon is going to share with us why he got into water filtration in the first place. And also, I think it's important, Simon, to share like why is it important to filter our water? Because I know when most people hear about this, they might feel like, it's okay to just buy like plastic bottles if I don't like the taste of the water, or maybe it's better to just boil the water. That gets rid of contaminants. So, yeah, I'd just love to bring you into this conversation in terms of like, firstly, how did you get involved in water filtration? And then why is it important that we actually filter our water? Like, isn't our water clean here in Ireland? Obviously we know that there is certain chemicals, but aren't they safe and effective according to what we're told?
Good morning, Ashleen, and thanks for having me on. How did I get into water filtration? So it was a long, long time ago. In 2002 was the first time that I ever heard anything about a water filter. So I grew up in a home in the country. We had our own well, and we always drank the water from the well. It was always delicious. Probably, well, it has lime scale, but we never really passed any remarks of growing up. So it was just kind of, what would you say? We always enjoyed the taste of the water, and that was it. So I was lucky enough that my parents, I suppose, back in the mid 90s, got into alternative ways of looking at health, looking at mindset, all different types of modalities. And they, what would you say, as a young teenager, well, a young kid going into his teens, I was very interested in a lot of the stuff that my mother and father were coming in contact with and doing. I just had a huge interest in it. So I rebelled against it at first, as you do when you're a kid and you think that they're crazy and, all these new ideas that they're coming into the house with. But soon I kind of, as I was getting that wee bit older, I kind of started to take to it. So my father and mother, they were in a company where it was looking at all the poisons and all the chemicals that was in your day-to-day household products, like shampoos, your detergents, all the different things that was in your house and all the poisonous chemicals that was in that. So they had a business where they were selling, products that were basically safe to use in your house and on your skin. They also had nutritional products as well. So through that business, they used to have a monthly meeting, and people would come from all over Ireland to learn about the products, etc. And you know, sometimes my father would bring somebody in from the UK of outside speakers. So in this one instance, a guy came over, a guy called Philip Day, from the UK. You may or may not know him. And he basically tested water that day. So he tested a bottle of Ballygown and he done an electrolysis test on it. So when he was finished the test, there was a huge amount of scum on the top of the water. So that kind of shocked my parents, who, Ballygown at the time, I suppose bottled water wasn't really a huge thing, but it was starting to come, and they were thinking, if that dirt is in Ballygown, I wonder what's in our tap water. So he advised there and then for people to get a reverse osmosis system. And at the time, I was having a huge problem with acne as a young teenager, and I was searching for solutions. And it was true that I suppose that recommendation, my father wanted to get one for the house for our own drinking water. It was when he was put in touch with a guy in the UK. The guy in the UK says, listen, there's no point me sending one. I might as well send you 10. Or I can't remember how many it was, but this guy wanted it. It was nearly like he was forcing them on us. So at this stage now, I was probably around 18 or 19. So I was already out working. And I was looking into starting my own business in a different industry. And long story short, it was me when he sent the 10 over. It was kind of the idea was passed over to me to say, listen, is that something you'd be interested in? So that's kind of how I got started. My father had no interest in selling water filters because he was busy, you know, doing his thing. It just started from there. Started with our own system at home, and then it was friends and family, and then it coincided with what my father was doing. So a lot of the people that he was talking to were interested in filtering the water because it was at that time, the early 2000s, people weren't really big into health or looking, so it was a very, very niche kind of a product. And it's only in the last few years where bottled water has taken off and the quality of the water every year in the country is getting worse. So people are kind of opening up and saying, right, well, is there another solution? So way back 20 odd years ago, it was a very niche product where it was more somebody who was really open and interested in looking at their health. And that's who I kind of focused on. And for the first, whatever, 10 years of the business, that's kind of the type of person that, I was kind of resonating with because that's the kind of circles I was mixing in, through the health, so I don't, and still to this day, I don't see us as a water filtration company. I would see us as a health company, delivering health through water to people. And it's, because now every year that goes on, there's just more and more pollution coming into the water, because you have more and more factories, you have more people, you have more population, there's more chemicals now. That every year that goes past, there's more chemicals in the environment through just the sheer amount that's being used in industry and in households. That all ends up in the water table. Everything ends up in the water table. And it's up to you then to actually filter all those chemicals out. You just cannot take it for granted that the government's doing it with mains water. They're not filtering the water to any great level. And then they're also adding back in chemicals. And then if you're on a well, you also have to just take it for granted that there is contamination in that well. So no matter where your water source is coming from, you have to treat it at source yourself and make sure that you're taking out all the inorganic minerals, the heavy metals, all those chemicals. If you're on mains water, you have the fluoride, the chlorine, lead, microplastics, pharmaceuticals. There's just so much. It's a cocktail of pollution that's in your water nowadays, and you really have to take the bull by the horns and do something about it. And people say, oh, well, he's going to say that he's selling water filtration. But no, it's like anybody who has any, what would you say, interest in their health or is conscious about their health and in doing something about it, it's the very first place you should look at. Before you even look at your diet, you need to be looking at what quality of water am I putting into my body, because it's 62% of who you are. And it's 62% of your intake every day should be good quality water.
So for those who are listening and they're new to this, and I'm hearing them speaking here, and they're saying, well, isn't fluoride added to the water for our teeth? So are we not better to drink the tap water with that fluoride? What would you say to that?
Well, it's like fluoride, chlorine. People will say, oh, but chlorine's put in there to kill bacteria, and that before that there was chlorine, there was huge problems, with drinking water, and that's okay. Yes, chlorine serves a purpose, but that doesn't mean you have to drink it. You can still remove it before you drink it. You can let it do its thing. Now you can do what chlorine does to water, you can do that yourself through filtration and through UV, So and fluoride, the fluoride we have in water in Ireland is a man-made chemical called hydrofluoric acid. Some people will say, oh, that's for your teeth. Me personally, I don't want any man-made chemical when I'm drinking water. I just don't want it there. For me, I would rather remove it. And what would you say? I can get the minerals that I need for my teeth through the food that I eat. Me, I don't believe in fluoride, but everybody is of a different belief, and that's okay. If somebody wants to remove fluoride, reverse osmosis is a good way to do it. For the person who doesn't want to remove fluoride, you should keep drinking the tap water, and that's for me a little bit like if you look at the back of toothpaste, not in this country, but if you go to America, you'll see that it says if you consume more than a pea-sized amount, contact a poison control board. Now that's because of the fluoride that's in the toothpaste. And if if you have to contact somebody about poisonous, for me, that's not natural to have that there, and it's not a good idea to be consuming it. Yes, you need to have healthy teeth, but there's many, many ways that you can do that through your food, which is how you absorb minerals. Is you take them in through your food into the body. There's also different forms of minerals. So you have inorganic and organic, and that's something you need to look at. Fluoride.
And what is inorganic minerals for those of us who don't know?
Well, inorganic mineral is a mineral in a form that the body cannot absorb. So it's like people will say to me, oh, reverse osmosis water takes minerals out of the water. And you're supposed to have, so there's a belief out there that you're supposed to have minerals in water. Water is supposed to be H2O. If it wasn't, it would be called H2O Ca for calcium or Mg for magnesium, and it would be a different composition. But water is supposed to be hydrogen and oxygen. It's not supposed to be H2O plus plus plus. Then it's not H2O. It's not water then. So water in its natural form in nature through the hydrational system is just H2O. And the minerals that does come in water, so for the people then that does believe that they're getting minerals in water, they're getting inorganic minerals because that's water that has come up from a well and it is bringing what's known as an inorganic mineral, usually calcium or magnesium carbonate. So it's calcium and magnesium that's not bioavailable, so it's not really of any use to the body when you drink it. It's basically hardness. So calcium is it's like concrete. So when it's stored in the what would you say in the joints of the body, it turns into concrete. So it's a waste product in the body then that's gathering up in your body. So if you want natural minerals, you need to look at either the food that you're eating. A plant is the only thing in nature that can change an inorganic mineral that's in the soil into an organic mineral that the body can absorb. So if you want to be taking in minerals, you need to be taking them in organic form through plants, through vegetables. And also you can supplement through mineral salts. So mineral salts would be like Himalayan salts, or you get some mineral salts from lakes. For instance, the Great Lake in Utah is a mineral salt lake, and mineral salts would be 60% sodium, and the rest would be all the minerals. Potassium, magnesium, chloride, and all the micro and macro minerals to make up the 90 minerals that your body needs on a daily basis. The key minerals are the electrolyte minerals. Not all minerals are the same. You have inorganic and organic. And water should not that it should not, the minerals that you're getting in water is inorganic and the body cannot absorb them. And usually it hardens up over time, and that's where you get arthritis and stuff like that from hardening of joints through, not saying it's just through water.
Yeah.
It can be from, what would you say, processed foods, etc. Have a lot of inorganic minerals in them also.
But what you're saying is like, our body only absorbs organic minerals. And so if you're putting man-made chemicals into the water, trying to like replace what the body actually needs, it's not a good idea to be messing with adding chemicals to the drinking water because it's not good for the body and it creates toxicity in the body. And from my perspective, I help people as a nutritionist, healing chronic illnesses, helping women have healthy pregnancies and people that are becoming very health conscious and becoming very aware. And one of the things that I became aware of recently is somebody can have high blood pressure, not from, they could have a really good diet and be exercising and doing all the good things. But if they have too much fluoride and chlorine build up in their liver, that can actually cause high blood pressure, even for a very healthy person, because it's not natural and the body has to store it somewhere. So the liver ends up becoming very stagnant and sluggish. And then the blood becomes very thick and dehydrated, and that can cause high blood pressure. And obviously that's a concern for everyone, but especially if you're healing chronic illness and if you are a woman who is planning a healthy pregnancy and wanting to support a healthy pregnancy, obviously we want to be avoiding things like high blood pressure. So just to point that out, because oftentimes the water is something that people forget to look at, because yeah, they just take for granted that we're living in a westernized country and we have all these ways of cleaning the water, and yeah, it just isn't in people's awareness. So I really want to bring that into the consciousness of, yes, if you are taking care of your body, obviously looking at our water quality is so essential. And the service that you're providing with the water filtration, Simon, is so important, because otherwise people are looking at, buying lots and lots of plastic bottles of water, which is just creating another problem in itself, because you're, exposing yourself to so much microplastics and creating so much waste in the environment. So for those who are interested and looking at a solution to their water, what is the new system that you're providing? Because I know that this technology of reverse osmosis has really come on in recent years, and yeah, the Arkk system that you're now
Yeah.
bringing to Ireland, I think, yeah, just to share like what that looks like.
What happens is when you look at your water, so if you're somebody at the moment who is drinking tap water, or maybe you've progressed onto bottled water. So bottled water is usually the first step for somebody who's not happy with what's coming into their home, and you're not really fixing the problem at the root cause. You're fixing, it's like a symptom. So you've just moved from one problem to another problem. You're now drinking bottled water, huge amount of microplastics. The water also is very high in calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate, huge amount of estrogens, estrogen mimics in the plastic. So for any lady is not a good thing to be drinking a lot of out of plastic bottles. And it's really the end goal for somebody that is not happy with the water is filtration, is looking at the filtration and saying, right, well, what is it that I'm looking for? And 95% of what people get who contact us is a reverse osmosis drinking water system. So why do why do people end up getting that? It's because it's probably the most effective system at removing all the different chemicals, the inorganic minerals, the heavy metals, solids, anything that's in your water. That system's going to bring your water back to H2O and get rid of all those things out of the system. It doesn't hold on to that dirt in the system. It's pushing that out like your dishwasher, like your washing machine. It's pushing it out into your waste pipe. So it's a very, very effective system at cleaning your water and also discharging the waste out of the system. So it's not building up, in the system. Um, the technology has come on a huge amount over the years. It used to be quite a big system, as you know. You started off with the old traditional style system, which had a big tank and five big filters that, more or less took up a single press underneath your sink. Now, what we do, we have a system called the Arkk Z, and it's like a computer hard drive. It's a very, very slim system that goes in underneath your sink. And that system, it has two big, huge filters in it that filter your water back to pure. And it'll give you 2 liters of pure water on tap every minute. So you can use it for cooking, drinking, washing the vegetables, boiling the kettle, anything that you're consuming and putting into your body, you can use this water for. And it's, what would you say, it's so cost effective. It's much cheaper than buying bottled water. For instance, the Arkk Z every year will only cost you less than €100 a year to service, to maintain it. So if you take that in comparison to people who's buying bottled water and spending 350 to €450 for the average family on bottled water every year, in the first year you're going to save over €300. So it's a huge cost saving, but the quality of water that you're drinking is 99% better than what you'd be drinking through a bottle or through a filter jug, or through a single stage filter or anything like that underneath your sink. So it's a no-brainer. It's very cost effective. but the quality of water that you're getting is, there's
Mhm.
nothing will match it.
A huge part of my work is supporting men and women to prepare their body for preconception. Just thinking like how important it is to be looking at the water quality that you're consuming, because drastically bringing down chemicals like fluoride and chlorine and heavy metals will help with fertility, because they are anti-fertility chemicals. And if somebody has any type of sensitivity in the body or various levels of toxicity built up in our systems, it's really important to actually hydrate and flush out those toxins with clean water. Like, it's just so important.
Yeah, and it's what would you say? It's the first place you need to start, because we all live in this world, there's nobody has a body that does not have any toxins in it. You're surrounded by it on a daily basis. Um, so water is the first thing you should look at, because water is supposed to flush toxins out of the body, and it you don't want to be drinking water that has you're adding to the problem if it has chemicals in it.
Hmm.
So you want your water to at least be clean, so that when the water goes into your body and it goes in, you know, and aids all the different organs, you want it to be clean and free of chemicals so that it can do its job without adding to what would you say, to the problem with more
Yeah.
chemicals. So it's really important, if you're looking at your diet in any way or your health, water filtration, or getting your water back to pure, is a huge thing that you're going to do for your body. It's probably the most important thing you'll do, and that's going to help you then to start flushing the body and cleaning out your liver, etc., where you're not then adding to it, like with a double-edged sword, where you're actually drinking water to clean up but also adding chemicals at the same time. So it's, what would you say, you want to be flushing toxins out of your system with the water and not adding further toxins to it, by drinking the
Yeah.
wrong water.
And just to kind of put everything into context for those who are new to this topic, 98% of Europe don't add fluoride chemicals to the drinking water. So in Ireland, we are, kind of out here on our own with this policy, which has been mandated since the 60s. And it's come from American public health policy, this whole idea of adding fluoride chemicals to the water. And the tide is really turning in America at the moment in terms of fluoride is now being removed from a lot of states. It's being outlawed actually in Utah, in America, and many, many other states are following suit. And just the research has really started to mount as well in recent years around, especially with pregnant women consuming fluoridated water, and how they've linked this to a lowering of IQ in children. And obviously this is a huge concern for any mothers out there or mothers to be, because we want to do the best for our children and support their development in the way that we can. So being able to proactively remove the fluoride from the water until it becomes a point where it's removed, and it's, the policy changes. We can't wait around for that, but we can take a proactive step today and filter that water for ourselves and our families. And the Arkk Z system is a really great solution for those who are interested. So I'll include all the links below this video, and I have a discount code as well for you, to be able to make it even easier for you to get your water filter into your home as quickly as possible and start enjoying pure water and being able to give your body the support that it needs. Yeah, just being able to become mindful of what you are consuming, and how, oftentimes we're told that certain conditions are genetic. It's like, oh, that's passed down from your family, but it's like, what's actually passed down is toxicity. Toxins are passed down, and that impacts how the genes are expressing, and that's the whole world of epigenetics. And so we have so much control over our environment, where we can change and clean up the water. We can improve our diet. We can exercise and spend time in nature. So it's just kind of getting the basics in place. Oftentimes people feel like they have to do all these complicated things for their health, but actually it's about really getting back to the basics. And we all know that we need clean water. Like, that's a kind of human right and a human instinct to want that. Animals will turn their nose up at tap water. They can smell it. They can smell the chemicals. So it's like Yeah, so it's not natural. Like the animals will go for the rainwater, which obviously, there's other things in that, but it's better than the tap water. And that shows you. Oftentimes, I think we have been so disconnected from our instinct and our kind of inner knowing. But I feel as soon as you start cleaning up your body, that instinct becomes much more available to you. And yeah, it just helps your overall health path. And if you are on a healing journey right now, getting your water right is such a fundamental step.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you. Like the way I look at it is, um, I'm a natural being, so you're a natural person, and it's unnatural to be putting in chemicals. It's to limit, especially when it comes to your water, because it's such a huge thing for your actual health. You're a natural being, and it's important that what you're putting in on a daily basis is as close to natural as possible. And you're not upsetting the internals of your system by putting in man-made chemicals that don't belong in there. And your system has to fight hard then to get them out, if it can get them out, because what happens is you can have an overload and it starts to store it in the body. It's very, very simple to, what would you say, take steps to cut that out. And it's, as within, so without. So whatever's going on inside your body is what shows up externally outside your body. So if you're experiencing problems with your health, etc., you have to start from the inside out, and you have to fix things looking at it from a root cause. That simple. What would you say? As within, so without. You're building your own reality based on what you're actually doing, what you're putting into your body, what you're feeding it, what you're giving it, to fuel it. And if you're giving it the wrong stuff, you 100%, the law of cause and effect is going to take place. If you put the wrong stuff in, you turn it into a sewage system inside, and then that's exactly what you're going to get in your life. And people then in the winter we get flus, and people try and take stuff to stop the flu or that. You have to allow the body then to get rid of all that toxicity, because that's what the flu is. You're pushing the gunge and the sludge out, and it's important that your body does that because it has to cleanse itself, so you know it's hard to be perfect, but you just have to be mindful. A water filtration system like a reverse osmosis system, it's a hugely simple thing to have, and you have it on tap. So that's a huge thing to have, where you don't have to worry then about your water because it's just on tap. And that's a huge benefit to your system on a daily basis, just to be putting water in that doesn't have all the nasty things that's in water at the minute, wherever you are in Ireland.
So, for those who are interested, you'll find the link and the discount code below for ordering your reverse osmosis filter, the Arkk Z system that's now available. So, thank you, Simon, for your time here today. And it's been very, very enlightening around the importance of claiming our water and having clean water for our health.
Thanks very much for having me, Ashlyn.